Money FM 89.3. Best of breakfast. Mind your business. Only on Money FM 89.3.
That's right. It's time for Mind Your Business with me, Audrey Seek, and Ahmad Akhtar. Now, these days, the way we think about food is changing. The demand for alternative proteins is skyrocketing as we rethink what's on our plates and where it comes from. And when we think about food sustainability, a few things probably come to mind. Plant-based diets, regenerative farming, eco-friendly packaging, all great stuff.
Yeah, what's coming to mind is that burger of yours that I need to try.
Okay.
But did you know one of the most exciting innovations in the space is precision fermentation? Now, that's a breakthrough that allows us to create high-quality fats and proteins without the need for animals. At the forefront of this revolution is our next guest, who is harnessing cutting-edge fermentation tech to develop fats that mimic the rich, indulgent flavors found in animal-based foods.
Yeah, so the same rich taste, but minus the animals. So let's dive into the science behind precision fermentation and how it is reshaping the future of food. Joining us today is Dr. Anna El Tahchy, Chief Technical Officer at Nourish Ingredients. Anna, wonderful to have you on the show. Good morning.
Hello, good morning.
Yeah.
Thanks, Audrey. Thanks, Ahmad, for having me.
Yeah, good morning, Anna. Great to have you on. First things first, what are some of the key food sustainability trends that you see shaping this landscape today?
All of these new technologies like precision fermentation, the one that we've adopted to create new resources of food production, as well as others, throughout the supply chain that might look different to just the production itself, but maybe more applicable to how we deliver our foods, how we manufacture them, robotics, etc. So what we're trying to do here to meet sustainability is complement the existing sources with new alternative ways of manufacturing food. Just to give you the perspective of the mission that we're on, if you look at, for example, our traditional resources, let's call it animal agriculture, it occupies 77% of the land that we're living on Earth, but it only provides 17% of food that we use every day. There's this massive gap that will not help us to meet growing demand, and what we're trying to do here is complementing it with new approaches.
Okay, so I want to dive into this precision fermentation. So Nourish Ingredients is based in Australia, and you guys are using deep tech to recreate natural animal fats without the animals, and that's quite a claim. So how exactly does this technology work?
Yeah, 100%. So we also have a lab in Singapore at the Food Technology Innovation Center. That's where our pilot production is happening currently and all our customer demonstrations. Yeah. So what we're doing is we went and isolated strains from nature, and we developed processes like you do with brewing beer, for example, to grow these strains and enrich them in the type of fat that animals can do and plants cannot. So in our technology, for example, if you want to give it a bit more science, it's omega-6 based, and omega-6 you cannot find that in plant sources. Most of the food manufacturers use coconut, palm fats, canola, other types of plant fats that lack this ability of animal taste. What we do is we recreate that with precision fermentation and complement the plant fats, giving consumers the real animal experience. And by doing, our fats are really potent. So if you, for example, think about opening a bottle of essential oil, how strong it smells and tastes, you don't really need to create huge quantities. What we do is only use at very low percentage in the final food application. It's below 1%.
Okay, and I'm feeling quite hungry now. I want you to share some examples of the various food products and ingredients you've developed.
100%. So we do have two product lines. One is Tasty Lux, and it's for the meat flavor and taste. And the Creamy Lux is more for a dairy application. Like it does give you that creaminess, mouthfeel that you expect from a full cream milk, for example. Some of the applications we work with the customers with really both plant-based and hybrid. So we're not just trying to help plant-based foods taste better, but we're also trying to enable global dairy, for example, companies to reutilize their resources in a more efficient way. So while they, for example, try to reserve some of their high-value protein for high-value nutrition purposes, we could help them in applications like burger, for example, to bring in the authentic taste without really needing to waste a lot of that protein in a pleasure food application, for example. But consumers would still access that as a natural product for their diets, yeah? So it does help us meet the growing demand really by a complementing source or approach rather than replacing. So we don't replace plant fats, we complement them, and we are broadly applicable to all the foods. The mission, the outcome of what we're doing is really helping consumers in different regions have access to natural sources of food, have access to burgers without having that ultra-high processed label on it, and having accessing that taste that you'd expect from the real animal source, whether it's a burger or a cheese slice.
So you sell this technology to businesses, do you? Have you patented this tech?
Yes, we do have 10 patents globally expanded for both product lines and new concepts that we haven't yet taken into the scale-up phase.
Okay, so have you guys collaborated with any restaurants or food brands to bring these ingredients to market?
We've done our own events. Most of them were in Singapore, actually, for different types of audience at events, expos, investors, focused dinners, for example. We don't work specifically with restaurants. What we do is work with food businesses like the global dairy leaders or plant fat leaders, or as well as other food manufacturers. So the most recent press release that we've done is with Fonterra, a global dairy leader who's selling protein ingredients to large businesses around the world. And with them, we're trying to recreate a slice of cheese that from a hybrid approach that tastes like the animal source.
Yeah, you mentioned investors there. I'm curious to know how you attracted the attention of investors, given that this is quite a new space for us. You know, we typically associate animal-free food to plant-based ingredients like soybean products, beans, and lentils. So I guess this is a question that applies to other aspiring entrepreneurs who want to venture into the space. How do they attract the eye of an investor?
It was easier for us 5 years ago than today in this current market. After the inflation and all of that, it's becoming very difficult. But, you know, we were founded at the right time where investors were seeing the real issue in the market with the growing demand and the traditional sources can't meet. Now the issue is still there. There's still an interest in from an investment perspective because we have developed all these products. But the real issue today in the market, and we believe that we are unlocking this one, is the taste and the cleaner label. So consumers are not able to adopt the full story yet because they are not really trusting that these new alternatives are natural or these new burgers on the market are healthy or clean. And also they're not tasty yet to their satisfaction. So we're trying to unlock that. And there are investors who are keen on unlocking this space that we're currently targeting.
I think you brought up a great point that people want sustainable food, but we also want it to taste amazing, and we also want to know that it's good for us, right? So how do you balance, you know, this health-conscious kind of innovation with making sure that people still get the flavors and textures that they want?
Yeah, really by focusing on where it's needed. So when we were founded, we were not focusing on those animal lipids that are rare to find. We were like others trying to replace palm and coconut oil, but we realized it really quickly that we don't want to add burden to the system by needing more solvents in the process or creating things that are commodity and accessible already. We tried to go deep into understanding what is this taste made of and really targeted those molecules that plants cannot make. That's the approach we've taken, and we have chosen to remain at this stage non-GM and natural. So all we do is just grow a strain out of nature and just in a big, vessel and harvest that thing and apply it to food. It's the same concept as you're growing mushroom at big scale.
Yeah, and it's not just flavor profiles that consumers are worried about. Those that don't have deep pockets perhaps are worried about the cost of, consuming products that are made using this technology. So how do you price your products?
Yeah, we do have a good pricing strategy that's attractive to most of the customers we're working with today. And in our approach, because you're bringing those authentic lipids like the animals have, you are able to displace other ingredients that are synthetically made to mimic this flavor. So we're adding the precursors to the taste, and with that you can reduce a lot of components, such as how much salt is added to the final recipe to make it umami, how many ingredients are just replicating the grilliness note or the smoky note, etc., all of that. So we have a good cleaner label approach, and with that it cuts down the cost for the manufacturers, cost of production of those final products. So they're able to provide consumers with a good cost parity to traditional sources. And I think this is the key, as well as the cleaner label and the taste, that will help us gain more consumers in this industry.
All right. And I want to bring it back to Singapore, Anna, because, Singapore is making big moves in the food tech space. I understand that Nourish Ingredients is actually also based here. So from your perspective, how is the country playing a strategic role in reshaping food technology?
Yeah, look, Singapore was at the first leader in this industry 5 years ago and remains to be standing out as, the leader, whether it's on regulatory fronts or building ecosystems to enable local production, or incubate startups like us to help us scale up our products to markets with the big network of customers that are headquartered there or having their open innovation space in Singapore. Having a coffee in the FTIC will enable you to have a good business deals on the spot just because of that rich ecosystem. The regulatory also has been, Singapore has been the first to review and adjust their legislations to adopt cellular culture as well as precision fermentation made products. And it's very enabling in terms of you work on the R&D, you do have your own license, but you also scale it and you need that commercial license. So it's very streamlined. Yeah, and that's why we had chosen to do our pilot lab there, because it allows us to demonstrate, it allows us to work with the customers' recipes to adjust and tailor that without having to worry about a lot of obstacles on the way.
All right, Anna, final question. What is the biggest lesson you've learned from your ongoing journey with Nourish Ingredients that you would like listeners to take away?
Yeah, a lot of lessons. Every day we learn something new. It's never ending, really, and that's where the excitement comes from. But one thing that we have really learned quickly and adopted quickly is really not to try to do everything ourselves and try to look for collaboration. Yeah, so this is the approach we've taken with the co-manufacturing of our ingredients. We scaled it rapidly to Cabio Biotech in China because they had some capabilities that we didn't have to worry about building and spend time on waiting for a pipeline to be all established. We have chosen to go to Cabio, transfer the tech, and enable them to produce for ourselves. And we've just got our first commercial supply ready last week. So that's what enabled us to move rapidly, and I think this is a good lesson that lots of the startups try to avoid, but at the end of the day, if you want to scale your products rapidly to market, look for collaboration as quickly as possible.
Yeah, well, we certainly learned something new today. It's been fascinating learning about precision fermentation and how it's reshaping the way we think about food. And we're looking forward to seeing how Nourish Ingredients continues to push the boundaries of food sustainability. Anna, thanks so much for being here with us today.
Thank you so much for having me. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you. That was Dr. Anna El Tahchy, I should say, Chief Technical Officer for Nourish Ingredients. Stay with Money FM 89.3.
To listen to more great interviews, download our podcasts at audio.sg or download the audio app. That's AWEDIO, audio at the App Store and Google Play.